Not on my watch.
Clear!
Hello, everyone. This is Cat CPR. I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Matt.
Matt,
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Matt.
Yeah.
Matt, would you consider me to be a truthful person?
Yes.
Okay.
Unequivocally.
Without a doubt.
Without hesitation.
Without hesitation.
And I've known you for close to a decade now.
Right. And you would never describe me as being a liar.
I mean, you don't ever lie to me beyond like once or twice a week. So, no.
Joking aside, you've never known me to lie. Right?
Never.
And being who you are, I know that you would never put me, a truthful person who does not lie, in a position to lie. Correct?
Never. Not in a million billion years.
Never?
Never.
Well, Matt, I'm glad that you said that.
Uh-oh. What? Did I just back myself into a corner?
This whole thing is a setup!
Well, we'll see about that. But the reason I'm saying that is because our good friend Andy Dunn sent me the Special Reserve Collection of Smokin' Ed's world-famous peppers hot sauces.
Ooh.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff.
Way to go, Andy.
Yeah, it was really nice about that. But of course, and Andy is, he's up north. He had to send this via FedEx, via, his own expense. And he asked me, if I send you these hot sauces, would you and Matt sample them at the beginning, or sample one at the beginning of a Cat CPR episode? And Matt, I told him yes. And Matt, you just said you would never put me in a position to lie. Correct?
So I had no idea this was coming.
So what I've got here is I did sample one. It is Pepper X Special Reserve hot sauce. Now, some of these that he has in the box, it's got 3 flames or 4 flames. This is 5 flames. I will tell you that I have already sampled this, and it's fantastic. Okay, this is not something that's going to, well, maybe it'll cause you to sweat.
I'm sweating already.
Just looking at it is making you sweat, right? But I've used it on my tacos. I've used it, with Mexican food, et cetera, et cetera.
And I think you and I have a similar.
I wouldn't pull this on you if I knew you didn't have a tolerance.
You've had
for
my hot salsa.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
I've told you before, it needs to be bottled.
Yes.
While you're drinking that water, you're going to go ahead and start prepping a little bit.
Should I go get some milk?
And again, no. I don't think it's anything like that. But again, I got these 2 sample spoons. And again, because, like I said, I'm not a liar. I told Andy we would do this, and you would not put me in a position to do so. We're going to sample this. So
this
go ahead and pour a little bit.
This is such a setup.
Put a little bit on a spoon. And then pass it over to me. I'll put mine on a spoon. And then we'll sample it together.
I don't smell anything.
Don't smell anything? That's either a good sign or a bad sign. It's one or the other, right?
It's bubbling. Okay.
It's a little thick, so be careful there.
Yeah, it doesn't want to. Oh, wait, it doesn't want to come out.
Oh, I guess that means it's not. I might have to open up one of those other bottles that I didn't have kind of in the fridge, Because I used it and I didn't want it to go bad. And
is that enough?
Maybe a little bit more. Maybe just a little bit more. Okay. It is thick. I mean, it's got some consistency to it. Okay. Now here, go ahead.
Is that okay? We're going to be here for 20 minutes.
We're going to be here for a little while. And it's important that we do this before we start the podcast rather than after. Because again, we're going to see how well we can kind of go through this when we have this hot sauce resting on our tongues. But like I said, I've tried it before. I really like it.
Okay.
And
see what I mean? It's thick.
It's pretty thick. It's pretty thick. Okay, so on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3.
You first.
Whew.
That's got good flavor.
It does have good flavor. Now again, it comes on. I mean, it's got some heat to it, right?
It does. It's coming on the back end.
Yeah, it's coming on the back end a little bit. But it's not overbearing. I think it's very tolerable. I am going to leave some of these with you because I think you might be interested in adding it to some of your salsa because it's good. It's flavorful.
That we're having some we make Chinese food from scratch and stuff. I'm doing some stuff with some.
Here, go ahead and put your spoon in here. I came prepared for this, as you can see.
Look at you. Yeah. I'm doing some stuff with marinating some beef down there, so that would actually go really, really well on that.
I mean, it's good. It's tasty, right? And you still got some heat. But it's kind of like just a warmth in the back of the throat.
It is. A little bit of
I feel it a little bit
condensation on the forehead. But no, Andy, that was excellent.
Yeah. So thank you, Andy. We We appreciate the hot sauce, and as you can see, Matt's going to use it in some of his other delicious meals. Okay, well, thank you so much, Matt, for entertaining that and proving once again that I am not a liar.
You're not. My lips are tingling.
Even at your own expense.
My lips are tingling a little bit. But that just means it's good.
Do we need to take a break or anything?
No, it's not.
Okay,
painful.
we're good.
It's not painful.
Okay, we're good.
It's burning on the way down. But
It is.
It's not painful.
Okay, well, with that accomplished, I mean, that was kind of a big thing, but I think today, for this episode, we're talking about something that's even bigger.
Gigantic.
And why? Yeah, excellent segue there, right? Okay. We're talking about Nephilim today, right?
Yeah, it must be the hot sauce. Yes, Nephilim.
Nephilim. Oh, excuse me, I mispronounced it.
Is the correct pronunciation.
And I don't want to offend those guys. So, okay. And Nephilim, this is actually a question that comes up, I think, fairly often when you're studying with somebody. It seems like every now and then it comes up, hey, what's up with the Nephilim, right? What's up with the Nephilim? And admittedly, I haven't studied it out enough to be able to provide a good answer because there's not too much information in the scripture on the surface.
3 verses. It's mentioned 3 times in the Old Testament.
But that's not to say research can't be done, even though it's mentioned so few times. And as per usual, you have committed yourself to that research, and you've got some stuff to share with the cats today.
Dude, I cranked it out.
Okay.
I had so much fun studying for this one. And I put hours and hours and hours and hours. Way more than I should have for this subject.
Right.
I mean, bro, this episode is a sign of the times we live in. We're not just talking about the Nephilim today. We're also talking about the Book of Enoch.
Ooh, okay.
So we're going to go through the Book of Enoch because you can't talk about the Nephilim without talking about the Book of Enoch.
Which we have talked about the Book of Enoch before. And that the fact that it is not accepted as being divinely inspired, but we're still going to be referencing it.
Yes, because people go to it as if it's divinely inspired, as if it's authoritative, and pulls the veil back on all of this stuff. And, we're going to show that, if you apply the same standards of authorship to determine if something is inspired to the Book of Enoch as we do the rest of the scriptures, it's going to come back woefully lacking. But, the reason that we're doing one on this, number one, it's fun, and this is going to be our last episode.
What?
For a little while.
Just taking a small break.
Just a small break.
I wouldn't even call it a hiatus.
Just maybe like 3 months, maybe.
Sure.
And, this is coming out the 1st of August, so maybe we'll come back 1st of January or 1st of December, somewhere along those lines. Because the next series we're working on is going to require a lot of work. So got a lot of irons in the fire. Maybe that's. I
thought you were going to say fires to put out, which I thought was like, throwback to this hot sauce by Smoking Heads. They really need to get that sponsor. We should be getting money for this. We should be getting paid. Yeah,
we should. Maybe they've got one that's like 10 flames and we'll be dying afterwards.
Yeah.
But
the whole episode is us just drinking milk and crying and sweating.
Hold me.
Yeah.
So
curiosity may have killed the cat.
May have killed.
Right. And this hot sauce has killed us. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But I have to get you back now. You know that, right?
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah.
That's fine. I accept that.
My nose is running.
What's done is done.
So, anyway, I see tons of stuff. Like I said, maybe it's my algorithm, but I see tons of stuff on the Book of Enoch, on the Nephilim. I mean, I saw one the other day of a sitting U.S. Congresswoman on the UFO board. I won't mention names, stating, Nephilim, Book of Enoch. This is right up there with all that stuff. What we're seeing in the UFO reporting is what the Book of Enoch and the Nephilim and the Bible talks about. Wow. And I'm like, okay, so we have government officials now doing this.
Right.
And I never thought we would do a dedicated episode on the Nephilim, but I thought, you know what? If, we got done with the prophecy stuff and, I wanted to do like one more before we take our break. I'm like, man, this would be great for our 21st episode.
And I kind of like it because, up until now, we've really been kind of hammering, why we should believe and have confidence in the Bible being divinely inspired, why you can build your faith on it, why you can stand on it. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be shifting to other things now since that has been established. So why not have kind of a fun episode talking about this before we take that break and make that shift?
Yep, absolutely. And that's kind of what I'm all about on this one. So, once we get into it, I got to be honest, and please don't read too much into this, but there's going to be not a lot, maybe a lot, at least a little bit of snark in my voice and sarcasm because some of this stuff is crazy town.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, and it's just, and I get it, man. This stuff is sensationalistic.
It is.
Right? I mean, it makes a movie. I mean, you have like in that Noah movie, I haven't even seen it, but weren't there like rock monsters in there fighting?
Correct, yeah.
For
the Guardians, Noah? Which I think was you bring up in the outline that you have.
The Watchers, yeah.
The Watchers. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The Guardians, the Watchers. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so this stuff is found all over the place. People love it because it is sensationalistic. And man, some of the weird stuff I've seen is that, they have found Gilgamesh and they've found Nimrod, and these guys are Nephilim. They're giants. They're in secret laboratories being cloned, ready to take over the world, Jeremiah. And people say this stuff with a straight face.
Yeah.
So we're waiting for the invasion of the giant cloned Nephilim, like for reals. This is like, Scientology with Lord Xenu. And so the snark's already coming out.
It's already coming out.
It's already
coming out. And we haven't even gotten to the text.
We haven't even gotten to it. But I used to have a very conservative view of this passage. Now I'm not so sure. And we'll get into that as we go through it.
Okay.
And you read my notes. And you're like, dude, I don't know what I think about that.
Yeah. It's a lot to wrap your mind around. I mean, again, as always, I follow your train of thought. I see the logic, but when you see some of the conclusions, you're like, is that really where we come to? And you go back and you look at it again. You're like, yeah. I mean, I see how we got from point A to point B, but man, point B is pretty wild.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. It is. So, to be honest, I haven't decided where I land.
Sure.
And the reason is, and it kind of starts off with our first point as we go into the Hebrew and Greek, and then into the grammar, because I think once you get into that, you're gonna come to some pretty decent conclusions. Like I said, the word Nephilim only appears 3 times.
Right. So it's not, the scripture doesn't give us a whole lot.
No, it's not a focus of the Bible.
It's not. And you bring that up in your outline as well.
Yeah, it's not a focus of the Bible.
For not being a focus of the Bible, people sure have a lot of questions about it, right?
And they make it a huge role.
They do.
I mean, the Nephilim is the reason for the flood,
I've
right?
heard that,
It's the reason why God destroyed the earth, because that's found in the Book of Enoch. You don't get that from the Bible. You get that from the Book of Enoch.
We got to wipe out the world because of the Nephilim.
Yes.
We got these giant people, and God just can't have that. So,
well, and it's not just that they're giant people; it's where these giant people came from,
right?
And that's where the real crazy stuff kind of comes in. So it's not. I mean, that's, if I could just get folks to look at it from this perspective, it is not a biblical priority at all, and it's mentioned in passing. And
is that possibly one of the biggest takeaways from this episode?
Yes.
Is that, listen, okay, we're going to talk about Nephilim, but disclaimer, it's not a priority in the Bible. Therefore, should we treat it as a priority? If you're focusing more on the Nephilim than you are salvation and spreading the gospel message, bruh, your priorities are wrong. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you're making, if your focus is reading a whole bunch of books, listen to all kinds of podcasts, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should spend our time. If you're a Christian,
right?
Maybe you should spend your time. We should spend our time doing the things that are productive,
right?
Not like mindless, wild speculation about things that the Bible talks about 3 times. It never even mentions in the New Testament. You can't even find a hint of these, hybrid clones,
right,
in the Book of Revelation, even.
Second Peter chapter 1, he talks about these qualities that we should be, supplementing one to the other, because if they are ours and increasing, they will prevent us from being unfruitful and ineffective. None of those qualities are researching the Nephilim. Yeah. For if you research the Nephilim, that will keep you from being ineffective and unfruitful. No.
Yeah.
In fact, if you research it too much, it might actually do the opposite.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but let's dive in here.
Yeah, we're in the outline.
Well, we're in the
outline. So,
okay.
I mean, the word Nephilim comes from the Hebrew verb naphal, which means to fall. So that's whenever I was
So I can already hear the conspiracy. The fallen. Aha.
Yeah,
what did they fall from? Where did they fall to? Why did they fall? Okay. Yeah.
And when I was taking Hebrew, I would always find little mnemonic devices to kind of remember the words, right? And naphal was one of the ones that I never forgot, because naphal means to fall.
Pretty
So,
easy. Yeah.
Pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
So this has led to the preference of translators to translate this as the fallen ones, because Nephilim, that eem ending, I know a lot of people say Nephilim, but the
Guilty. You heard it at the beginning of the episode.
but the Hebrew ending I am is an eem ending, like
Kind of like Elohim.
Elohim, exactly,
Right, okay.
exactly.
And you see how I botched the beginning of the pronunciation of that word.
Well, yeah, you nailed that one.
Okay.
So it means the fallen ones is what a lot of people say because they see, to fall, fallen ones. However, so let's go to Genesis 6, and let's just read verses 1 through 4, because this is where is this 2 of the 3 times, or is this 1 of the 3 times? Oh well, I forget. This is 1 of the 3. The other 2 are in I believe Numbers. But,
Okay.
Yeah, 1 through 4.
1 through 4. When man began to multiply on the face of the land, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bore children to them, these were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown.
Yes. So here we have, the word Nephilim, and people like to say the fallen ones because they're fallen angels, because they talk about the sons of God, which, again, we're going to get into. People say, are angels. And there's a lot of credence to that, actually,
Sure.
that the sons of God are angels. However, if the sons of God are the angels, or if the sons of God are angels that are the fathers of the Nephilim.
Right, if the sons of God are angels, and their fathers are the Nephilim.
No. If the sons of God are angels that are the fathers of the Nephilim.
Okay, gotcha.
Because
Yep.
that's the statement. Is that,
that the angels are the dads of the Nephilim.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
So angels came in, mated with human women, produced the Nephilim.
Sure.
That's the theory, and that they're human-angel hybrids.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And we get the idea of being sons of God from other places in Scripture. Like in Job, when the sons of God go before God, that's where we're kind of drawing the connection between sons of Gods being angels.
Exactly, and we'll get to that a little bit more.
Okay.
Just making a quick connection here
Uh-huh.
to fallen ones. If the sons of God are fallen angels that go in and mate with human women, and they're the fathers of the Nephilim, how can the Nephilim be the fallen ones?
That makes sense. So otherwise, it would say when the fallen ones came into the daughters of man and they bore the fallen ones to them.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So the Nephilim aren't fallen angels.
Right.
So the term fallen ones, that they're the fallen angels, doesn't follow.
Right. If the sons of God are the ones who are actually the fallen ones.
They're two different. They're two different.
The fallen ones are not birthing fallen ones if the Nephilim are on the earth, because then they would not have fallen.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
I'm tracking.
Yeah. Then the Nephilim aren't the fallen angels because they were born from supposedly the fallen angels. Now,
Okay.
let's look at the range of translations, because this is where I think it gets interesting. So you have the fallen ones. Could it be translated that way? Sure. Why not? Absolutely. But also falling ones, because, and I'm going to tell you why. My Hebrew professor, who was actually a legitimate Hebrew scholar, went to Hebrew Union, has a PhD in Hebrew.
Knows his Hebrew.
I studied under him for a couple of years taking Hebrew, and he has his own translation of the Old Testament. Really, really good. He has the connotation in the translation that it means those who fall upon others.
Bad people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They're tyrants. They're murderers. They're the ones that lie in wait and fall upon people. So they fall upon others. So this is the connotation of the verb. Actually, in many of the cases it's used in the Old Testament, is those who fall upon others, these tyrants, these oppressors, right? So these men would fall upon others and prey upon them. Now, the other interesting aspect of this is that a lot of times people say, no, this can only mean fallen ones. Now, you remember Hebrew only in the original only has consonants, no vowels. The consonants for the word Nephilim and the active participle form of the word Nephal, verb Nephal, and I'm going to explain what that means here in just a second, are exactly the same. So we don't really know if it's an active participle or not. And if it's an active participle, the translation is the falling ones.
Ones who are in the act of
The
falling.
act of falling.
Okay.
The repetitive tyrants preying upon people.
So it's more of a
people.
description term for their character more than who they are.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Or than where they come from.
Right.
Than where
Right.
they come from. So what's interesting, I think, and this is going to make a lot more sense than the fallen ones as we go through, because falling ones, those who are repetitively doing this, it makes sense in the context of the passage because the earth is filled with violence.
Right.
Every thought is evil continually from their youth up, and the sins of mankind were just piling up and piling up. And when we get over to the book of Numbers, it's the same kind of concept.
So that would lead to the idea that the Nephilim are not the product of fallen angels and human women, but just a type of people who happen to be on the earth at that time.
Yes, and really, I think the main point that we can get from that is that you can't prove that just from the name
Right.
Nephilim.
Sure.
We're going to be building slow little conclusions as we go through. So I don't think you can make the statement that these are fallen angels. Number one, because the sons of God are the fallen angels, supposedly, which I actually believe, and that half believe, and that they're went into the daughters of men and produced offspring, and the offspring of the Nephilim. So the Nephilim are not the fallen ones. If anything, their daddies would be.
Right, and it's kind of interesting because right there in the smack dab of verse 4, and again, I don't know if this is in the Hebrew, if it was just added, it says, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward.
Yeah.
When the sons of God came into the daughters of man.
And we're going to break all that down.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because that's a huge part of it.
Now, this is some things that it's like when you really start looking at it, you're like, hold up a second. Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like
Right.
we said, it's so sensationalistic. If people want to believe something sensationalistic, they don't necessarily want to get bogged down in the details. They want to do their jumping off point from something and say, see, this proves it. And then they go into the sensationalism, right?
Right.
And it's like, dude, don't distract me with the details. Don't distract me with the data and
Right.
evidence. I have something that I want
Let
to
me have my conclusion.
Yeah.
And don't tell me any evidence that would prove otherwise.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Now, we have to go over to the Septuagint as well. Remember, the Septuagint is the Greek translation of the Old Testament, written about 300 BC. Okay. Now, and this is where the concept of them being, part of the concept of them being big comes in, because the Nephilim, as people like to say, man, they were giants.
They were the offspring of fallen angels, right? Okay.
Massive, huge.
Right.
And Book of Enoch gets into that. We'll get into that in a second.
Okay.
So the Greek word for that is gigantes, and we get our word giant from that.
I could see that.
And now the first thing to remember, though, the Septuagint is a Greek translation of the Old Testament Hebrew. So that's like us. I'm in the New American Standard. You're in the ESV. We're reading our English. It's like that.
Sure. Right.
Now, sometimes in the New Testament, they preferred the Septuagint translation over the Hebrew translation, and it can be different. That's not saying it's all, divinely inspired or anything like that. It's just a Greek translation of the Old Testament. So first off, but what does the word gigantes mean? Because what we have to do is we have to kind of figure out what it meant in that day, and we're going to have to try to do something impossible, and I think it's better not to do it at all. But
I like that approach because, like I said, I've talked about this many times before, is that the way that we define something and the way that the Bible defines something, sometimes there's a discrepancy there. Like the word perfect that we read in the New Testament. Usually when people see the word perfect, they say someone who never makes a mistake. But if we go to Matthew chapter 5, we see that the word perfect means mature, complete.
Complete, yeah.
Right? And if you look in context, that's certainly what Christ is instructing us to do when he says you must be perfect like the Father is perfect, right? So it's kind of, I kind of like that approach because, again, what we think as being a giant, is that also what Scripture defines as being a giant?
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's where, I'm not saying the Nephilim weren't big, but like I said,
just our idea and what Scripture says might be, okay.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So what does the word gigantes mean? Well, we think it means big people, right? Giants.
Right.
I mean, when you think of the word giant, you think of
like Goliath. That's what I would think of,
Goliath.
Right?
But let me ask you a question. When you think of the word giant, does character ever come in to that equation, or is it simply size?
It's really size. I mean, again, we do see giants being depicted in mythology and have certain character traits,
Yes.
right? But I think typically speaking, you think of the size before you think of anything else.
Yep. And because today, if you see, like, if I were to stand next to, say, Shaquille O'Neal, I'd be like, dude, you're a giant.
Right.
It has nothing to do with his character. It has to do only with the size.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
And that's how it means to us. So when we see gigantes, we see, ooh, that means that they were massive. They were huge. They were
10 feet tall, 700 pounds.
Yeah.
6 fingers and 6 toes.
Yeah. But does that word mean what we think it means, or does it mean something different? So here's the thing. So I got a chance to dive in on this one. It was fun. In the Greek world, the giants were mythic, powerful, earthborn beings who rebelled against the gods.
Nothing to do with size.
Nothing to do with size.
Powerful,
Yes.
but humans that it's describing their character.
So this term would have some of the weight behind the translation.
Yeah.
Especially depending upon when this was written. Like I said, about, the 4th century BC.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have to figure out, though, is what was going on inside the mind of the translators who are translating this 1,100 years after Moses wrote this. How possible do you think that is?
Possible.
I mean, getting inside the mind of a translator and saying this is what they meant.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You think it's possible?
Yeah,
I don't. I mean, I think we
well,
can
I'm
guess.
kind of. I never try to put anything past anybody. That's the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't. What I mean is, I think we can guess. I don't think we can know.
Okay.
I mean,
right. No, I'm with you on that one. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, do you know what's going through somebody's mind 2,000 years ago based upon how they picked one word over another?
Oh no, definitely not.
Yeah,
definitely not.
But we can see what it means during that time frame, and we can say this is what that word would have meant then. It's like,
okay, I'm with you. Yeah,
it's like us using the word charity. If you're a King James person, love is translated charity.
Sure.
Now in our
Charis,
versions, it's translated love. So charity means something different now than it did then.
Right.
Totally different
Sure.
meaning, even just a couple hundred years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we would say, okay, well, just in a couple hundred years, that word changed a little bit.
Right.
Now, they could have meant this. So again, the word giant, these were mighty, violent beings, ancient warriors, terrifying rebels. They were viewed many times as tall, but that's a later development. In the 5th and 6th centuries BC, so 150 to 200 years before the Septuagint was translated,
Mm-hmm.
the Greek art that we have does not show them being tall. It shows them being monstrous. Like
The character.
yeah, character, but then they had like serpents for limbs and evil looking.
Okay.
And monsters in that sense, not monstrously tall.
Okay.
But just
Not
evil.
totally human, but
Yeah.
okay.
Evil.
Okay.
Evil. So the way that I like to put it is all giants were tyrants. They were evil and they were warriors, but not all were tall.
Okay.
That's a later development. So when the Septuagint translators are translating back, are they using the connotation of the word tall? Maybe, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
We have to look somewhere else besides the term. And we're doing piecemeal stuff.
Sure.
So
what we're looking at now is like, what did they really mean when they said giant?
what does the word mean?
Right.
So does gigantes necessarily mean tall? No, it doesn't.
Okay.
It means it technically means earthborn. It's from the word Gaia, earth. So the actual etymology of the word means they were born of the earth. And when we hear their origin story, where we talk about that in a little bit, that's going to be a little bit PG-13, but we're gonna tame it down a little bit.
Do what we can.
But it's pretty crazy.
Okay.
Now let's go to Numbers chapter 13.
Okay.
Because this is where we see something. And we are going to come back to this one as well.
Let me see.
Numbers 13. And let's look at verse 31 through the end of the chapter.
31 through the end of the chapter. Okay. Let me see. Then the men who had gone up with him said, "We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we are." So they brought to the people of Israel a bad report of the land that they had spied out, saying, "The land through which we have gone to spy it out, is a land that devours its inhabitants. And all the people that we saw in it are of a great height. And there we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Enoch, who come from the Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, so we seemed to them.
Yes. So obviously the people of the land were great size. The Nephilim were there. They were big too. We were grasshoppers in our sight. So these guys are the descendants of Enoch. Now, who are the sons of Enoch? Well,
that's the question.
Good question. They are all descendants of one guy, Arba. Joshua 15:14. So that's what I'm saying. I kind of got into this one. They're all the descendants of a guy named Arba. So these sons of Enoch, the tall guys, they're all from one family.
Okay.
They're all from, so in other words, it looks like there's a genetic line that goes through, and it goes, I mean, look, I'm like close to 6 foot. My wife is 5'1". So our kids are a product of both of our genetics. I'm still the tallest one in my family. I've got one son that's close to being my height. The other two are, a little bit shorter. You and your wife are both tall. Aren't you both 6 foot?
She's like 5'11" and a half. I'm 6 foot.
Yeah. Okay. And, your daughter is tall.
She's tall.
She's tall.
Also 5'11" and a half now.
Yep. And so your son,
I think he's going to be tall.
Yeah, he's big for his age,
he's
right?
Big for his age. Yeah.
So you guys run tall,
right?
Because of your genetics.
Exactly.
So if you got people that are big and, they marry, among other, cousins or whatever that might be big as well, you're going to have big kids. Those genetics are going to come through. So we're looking at something a little bit genetic here. Now, let's flip over to Deuteronomy chapter 2.
Okay.
Because now one of the things that I find interesting is that the sons of Anak were destroyed by 80-year-old Caleb. So, I mean, Caleb seems to me to be a pretty awesome dude.
Not described as being giant, this Caleb.
No.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, maybe their height had some advantages, maybe it didn't. But then again, the Lord was on their side, so they were able to take these guys out. So Deuteronomy chapter 2, let's look at verses 10 and 11.
Okay. The Emim formerly lived there, a people great and many, as tall as the Anakim. Like the Anakim, they are also counted as Raphim, but the Moabites called them Emim, or Emim, I guess.
Emim, yep.
Emim, okay.
Anytime you see the I am ending.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was going with. Where am I going?
2:12.
2:12.
Yep.
The Horites also lived in Seir formerly, but the people of Esau dispossessed them and destroyed them from before them, and settled in their place as Israel did to the land of their possession, which the Lord gave to them.
Yeah. So what we see here is you've got the Emim, which were big. So this is how we know that the Anakim were also big, because they were tall. So you can see this runs in the family, and Rephaim as well. Now Rephaim are being lumped in here as, and we have the most famous representative of the Rephaim, who is Og, king of Bashan, and he ended up being destroyed. His bed was 13.5 feet long. So he was a big boy too. Okay. My point is, clearly there were gigantic people around at this time.
Sure.
Clearly. But the question that I have is this: are all tall people part of the Nephilim? Let's go back to Numbers 13 for a second. I want to pick something out of the text here.
Okay.
Because I think the text that people like to go to prove that the Nephilim were giants actually shows us that wasn't a requirement to be a Nephilim, so the name Nephilim means something else.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so again, read verses 32 and 33 again, please.
Okay. 32 and 33. So they brought to the people of Israel a bad report of the land that they had spied out, saying, the land through which we have gone to spy it out is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people that we saw in it are of great height. And there we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, who come from the Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them. Yeah.
So, why in Numbers chapter 13, verse 32 to 33, make the statement that all the people are of great size, and then make the point, and the Nephilim are also there? If all the people of great size are the Nephilim, why even bring it up as a side note?
Sure.
And also the Nephilim are there? they would have made the statement, they're men of great size.
The Nephilim.
Those are the Nephilim.
Right. I mean, it would have just said, we saw men of great height, comma, the Nephilim, and we seem to ourselves, but he doesn't. He says, and there we saw the Nephilim.
Yes.
So definitely making a distinction between two different groups of people.
He's making a distinction.
Right.
So if all giants are Nephilim, then this makes no sense. They are stating that there were Nephilim among the giants of the land.
Yep.
Which means the Nephilim are not Nephilim because they're giants. It's because of something else. When we go back to their name, it's because these guys were the tyrants. They were acting like the men of old.
So this is kind of falling a little bit in saying why they were so scared of the people is because, well, there were giants there, but there were also really bad people there. The Nephilim, the people who would fall on people.
Yep.
The people who would do bad things to people, right? So it seems like that's kind of lending to itself. It's like, no, they're not just scared because there's big people, because there's bad people too.
And they're big.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Because all the people are big.
Right.
And there's really bad big people.
Right. Right.
Like the guys before the flood.
Sure. Yeah.
These guys that are trying to revive what went on before the flood. See? So the actual text is making the distinction between those two. So this goes back to the concept that the word has to begin with, right? Tyrannical behavior, falling upon people with violence. I like to think of the Nephilim like a biker gang. The patch on the back read the Nephilim instead of like Hell's Angels.
Right. Indicating who you'd be messing with if you messed with them.
Yeah.
Right.
They might probably had their own gang signs, their own colors. They probably had their own tats.
Right.
I
could see that.
Whatever. Right. Now, this coincides with the Greek word gigantes. All right. So it literally means a race of mighty beings associated with mythology. They're violent, rebellious figures. And like I mentioned, the etymology is from the word Gaia, from the earth. So it's actually showing that they were born on the earth. But it doesn't mean literally tall people. Wikipedia.
Good old wiki.
Got to be true.
You got the WikiLeaks.
I went to Wikipedia. I mean that I pulled out all the stops, y'all.
Yeah.
I went to Wikipedia, so it must be true. Wikipedia says the word gigantes were not always tall, but they were always incredibly strong and violent. Okay. So that's where we have to get into the mind of the LXX translators, the Septuagint translators, and say, what nuance did they mean? Did they mean tall, or did they mean character-wise? And you can see.
Or just strong, mighty.
Or just strong and mighty. So it seems that they're trying to draw the connection between what the Nephilim did and what the gigantes did. Now, their origin story, the gigantes origin story, is crazy. Okay. This is where it gets a little bit PG-13, but we're gonna edit. Or I'm gonna edit it a little bit.
Like how they came about.
Yeah. Do you want to hear that?
I do. Yeah.
It's
I'm here. Why not?
so you had the primordial deities.
This is according to Greek mythology.
Greek
still?
mythology.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You had the primordial deities. You had Gaia, of the earth, and then you had Uranus, who was the god of the sky, created the sky.
I'm not sure he's pronouncing that right.
Yeah. Well, you're going to see why as we talk about it a little bit more. There's a reason why I'm using the other the other pronunciation. So some of the people some of the beings they created were the Cyclopses and the Titans. One of the Titans, the most famous of the Titans, was Kronos, or people like say
father
Kronos.
of Zeus, and wasn't he? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So, and then from them there came the Olympians, Zeus and Hera and all the other gods. So in the rebellion, where the Titans overthrew the primordial gods, Kronos, the son of Uranus, castrated his father. And the blood that dripped down on the earth, and that blood sprung up the gigantes.
Well, that checks out.
Yeah.
That checks out.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I've cut my hand before outside working, and suddenly when the blood falls in the ground, up pops little people, you know? I mean, it's just...
And they're bad. Or are they good? Are they good?
I just crush them because it freaks me out. So
okay,
I never get a chance to find out about the character. Yeah, it's like, no, I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah.
I got enough mouths to feed.
Freeloaders.
Right.
So, my point is, that's the backstory of the mythology.
Yeah.
That happened. And then they started out normal size. And then as all fishtails do, right? That they got bigger and bigger and bigger. So by the time we get to the first century or whatever the case is, these dudes are massive.
Yeah,
they're absolutely, and that's where we get our concept of tall. So the Septuagint translators are utilizing the context of this mythology, which the Bible writers do sometimes. Hades is a mythological place which is used to describe a place for those people that you don't want to go to.
Right.
Tartarus, which we'll get into in 2 Peter, same type of thing, right? Tartarus was a place below Hades, even worse, right? So the conclusion is that we're just building the conclusion on the word Nephilim, just on the word itself, after taking in its etymology, definitions into account. Nephilim does not refer to race, size, or biological origin. Numbers 13, 32 through 33 confirms this distinction. The spies first say that all the people they saw were of great size. Then they specifically identified the sons of Enoch as being from the Nephilim. If Nephilim simply meant giants, or if every giant was automatically a Nephilim, that distinction would make no sense.
Exactly.
So therefore, the term itself is referring more to behavior and conduct than it is to supernatural origin or size.
Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense.
Now,
so many people right now are turning off this podcast. They're like, well, that's a disappointment.
Yeah. It's like, I need to go snuggle with the Book of Enoch.
No joke. I really thought I had this one. Oh, well. Okay.
So let's put a few more nails in the coffin, right?
Okay,
let's go back to
it.
Genesis 6.
Okay.
All right. And now we're going to talk about grammar. Before we were just talking about the definition of the words. Now let's talk about grammar. Now, The grammar's pretty straightforward in this section, this is where my interpretation got challenged. Let me tell you what my interpretation was. My interpretation is what is typically referred to as the Sethite interpretation, and I believe that's probably yours, right?
It was not because I had studied it out, but because it was the best alternative that I had heard.
Yes. And so for our audience, the Sethite one is, like I said, the main one that's on all the reels is angels took on physical form, had physical relationship with humanity, created hybrids, angel-human hybrids called the Nephilim. The alternate translation or interpretation that has the most traction is the Sethite one, that the sons of God, and this is what I was taught, this is what my Hebrew professor believed, said that because, he said sons of God are the lines of Seth, the godly line, and the daughters of men are the line of Cain, the ungodly one, and that they kept separated. And then what happened is that they started to intermarry. And that is how the pollution of the Cain line went into the line of Seth. And what I mean by pollution is the character pollution, the sin pollution, not racial pollution. And so we have the falling of the human race based upon the evil influence of the daughters of men in with the sons of God, the line of Seth.
Right. So we're still talking about humans with humans.
Humans with humans.
But we're just describing, just like the Nephilim would describe evil people, sons of God is describing those who would have maybe been considered righteous at the time.
Yes. And that's what I believe for a lot of years. Because the only other interpretation that I really heard was
angel babies,
angel hybrid babies.
Right.
And I'm like, come on.
So I can either believe good people mating with bad people or angels mating with humans.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And we're gonna get into that in just a little bit because okay, all right. I want to get to it now, but we got to build this case.
That's fine.
No. So let's look at chapter 6, verse 1. And I'm gonna read so I can pause here for a moment. It says, now it came about when men began to multiply on the face of the land, and daughters were born to them. Men, humanity. Yeah. And that's how it's used all throughout Genesis.
Sure.
Right? And even in this context, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, the same ones referring back to verse 1, humanity, were beautiful. Were the daughters of men, so if this is Seth and Cain, were Cain's daughter is just that much better looking than the line of Seth, and they were like, ooh, our women are dogs.
Well, I mean, we're talking about Genesis. We're talking about forbidden fruit. It's like, well, when they saw that it was good for eating and pleasant to the eyes,
Yeah.
I mean, is it that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, or is it like you said, forbidden fruit? It's like, oh, well, we're not supposed to marry them. Oh, they look so much better. So I mean,
because we're not supposed to, man, do they look good. Yeah, they look even better now.
And so they took wives. But then look at verse 3. It says, then the Lord said, my spirit shall not strive with man forever. Just the daughters of men or the line of Cain? No, he's talking about humanity as a whole.
As a whole, right? Correct.
Right? Yep. Because he is also flesh. Nevertheless, his days will be 120 years. And then you get down to verse 5. Now the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great on the earth. That's both lines.
So we're talking about man completely, overall. So, I mean, we're not making really a big distinction here.
Right. And so my point being is that when you say sons of God as opposed to the line of Cain, I don't think you can get that out of the text, because it seems like when he's talking about man or men or humanity or mankind, he's referring to all of it.
Right. And
then you have the concept of sons of God. And like you said, Job, we think that Job was written by Moses, and it makes the most sense to me. I think that's traditionally what it's viewed as. Moses in Job 1 and 2, and I think it's in verse also in chapter 38, refers to the sons of God 3 times, always in regard to angels. Always in regard to angels.
So you're kind of approaching this the same way that you did Numbers 13, where it's like, okay, we see the Nephilim, and then we got these other big guys there. Yep. If they were the same, why didn't they just say the Nephilim, who are big? Why not just do that? Same thing here. If the sons of God are man, why not just say man, because he's used that everywhere else?
Or the line of Seth.
Right. Why make that distinction if it's the same?
Yep.
So, I mean, that doesn't really necessarily support the descendants of Seth
It doesn't.
Right, because of that same distinction.
Because of that same distinction.
Okay.
So it's like, especially when Moses has a way of using that, and well, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself.
I know. But again, it's just kind of interesting because it's like, well, we don't want to apply that rule one place and not apply it somewhere else.
Exactly.
I mean, if we're going to apply that rule in Numbers 13, which makes perfect sense, why wouldn't we apply it here in Genesis chapter 6?
Absolutely.
Or vice versa, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because Genesis was before Numbers, so vice versa. Okay.
Now,
I'm tracking that.
Okay, cool. Now verse 3 is big. Now, so we see that the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they took wives whomever they choose. And look at verse 3. Then the Lord said. So that word then right there signifies a consequence of what we just read in verse 2.
Right. It does. I mean, obviously, this is as a result of verse 2. Here's what we get in verse 3.
Then the Lord said, my spirit will not strive with man forever, because he is also flesh.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, his days shall be 120 years. So there's a 120-year grace period from the time God said this to the time the flood came. That's how I interpret this.
Sure.
All right. But what he's stating there is that his spirit will not strive with man forever, because he's also flesh. He says nothing about that flesh being tainted with any spiritual foreign angel DNA. He says man, because he is flesh.
Right. So we're talking about a human that is a product of humans.
Yes. And because the other one assumes that angels even have DNA, which we'll get into in a second. We're going to have to deal with the assumptions that go into angels being able to procreate with humanity to begin with. And the Bible expressly states that only God creates. And we're gonna show that. We're gonna prove that here in a little bit.
Isn't there kind of like a species argument here that only things that are of the same species can actually breed and produce?
Yes.
I mean, that's why zebras and donkeys, I mean, again, they're not the same animal, but they're the same species, which is why they can make zonkies, right? Lions and tigers, that kind of thing. So this would also, if we kind of followed that same line, wouldn't that mean that angels are the same species of man? And I don't know who would agree to that, but anyway, that's a little sidebar.
No, that's exactly correct. When we're getting into the sons of God now specifically, and that's hard to overcome.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like, why would this be the exception when the rule is everywhere else?
Yeah, everything reproduces after its own kind,
which is we read in Scripture.
What's what we read in Scripture?
So that would assume that angels are the same kind as humans, but nobody would. But the whole premise of this is that they're different and they produce some kind of hybrid.
Yep.
Okay. Anyway,
There's all kinds of assumptions that are going into
that
this.
can, and when you start looking at these assumptions, you kind of say, well, wait, we can actually use the Bible to disprove that assumption, especially if you go back to, well, God's going to say you're going to make something according to your own kind.
Yes.
So we're saying that angels and humans are the same kind? No. Well, then how can they make something?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Other aspect. Sons of God, like we said, Job uses it. Job 1 and 2, chapter 38,
Clearly talking about angels.
Clearly about angels, but also stating that and Satan is separate from there, right? So Satan comes along with the sons of God.
Satan's the Nephilim, the fallen one. No, okay, all right. No. Let's just throw that wrench in there.
Just throw that out.
Okay,
Yeah,
anyway, yeah.
So we're seeing that the sons of God are referring to the good angels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, so someone could look at that and say, well, sons of God, if these are evil angels, he wouldn't call them sons of God. And my thought process, and that was one of the arguments that I used to use, but my thought process is this. What if this is the act that they did when they fell and they were sons of God and then did this, and this is what caused their fall? Wow. Now, that's what got me thinking.
No, we got some assumptions here,
we
though.
absolutely.
Right, we got some assumptions.
But my assumptions are going to be based on some scripture here in a second.
I feel like this is the dad saying, you were my son, but then you did this, you mated with man, and now you're dead to me. You're no longer sons of God, right? Is that kind of what we're...
Kind of, I think so. But there's a rebellion that took place here.
Right,
so,
okay.
I'm not saying I believe this. I'm trying to explain an alternate viewpoint.
Sure.
That just kind of hit me like a lightning bolt, and then I researched and found out other people have presented this as well, but I've never heard it before.
Okay.
So, John MacArthar being one of them, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Big time Calvinist, so.
Yeah. I'm gonna start smelling the tulips here,
right?
as we go. But
I get it. Okay. All right.
But my point being, yes, John MacArthur was a Calvinist, and he disagreed with him like on 90% of things. Mm-hmm. He also had some fairly well reasoned things from Scripture. Sure. And I didn't even look into it. I just read a little bit about it afterwards, and I'm like, okay, that seems to make a little bit of sense. But again, it was something that I thought of beforehand, and I knew it wasn't an original thought. No one's had an original thought. So I was just looking to see, okay, who else stumbled upon this, right? Sure. So
the anticipation's killing me. What is it? What is it?
The exact term sons of God never used anywhere else in the Old Testament outside of angels, except here in Genesis 6.
That's the problem?
So that's what's letting me think, okay, these are angels.
Right. Okay. Because it's not used differently anywhere else. Why would we assume it's used differently?
Exactly.
Here? Especially if in Job we assume it's written by, or think it's written by Moses. Genesis is written by Moses. Why would the writer of these books apply it differently using the same terminology? That makes sense. Okay.
The closest thing you can come to is Deuteronomy 14:1, where he says, "You are the sons of the Lord your God," and then also Hosea 1:10, which says, "You are the sons of the living God." Still different terminologies.
Sure.
Right. So most consistent use, they're angels. But in these angels, it seems, if we're looking at the text, marry daughters of men without their consent.
On the surface, that's what we're saying. Yes.
That's what we're seeing.
Yes. Okay. Which is what most people assume this is what this means in the first place, right? So we're kind of coming full circle here.
And that's on purpose.
Yeah.
And so then we got verse 4, which says, "The Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men and bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown." That's one thing we do know, is that whatever offspring was produced, these Nephilim, these were the mighty men, okay, men of renown. And we're going to get into those terms here also as well. So Genesis 6:4 states the Nephilim predate when the sons of God came into the daughters of men.
Right, because it does say, and also afterward.
Well, no. I mean, look, it does. But let's look at this carefully. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men. So the afterward is referring to
the action.
Well, yeah, afterwards referring, I think, to the time of Moses, because the Nephilim were there. But then, so that's like a parenthetical thought. Cut that out, and here's how it reads. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days when the sons of God came into the daughters of men and they bore children to them. Mm-hmm. The Nephilim were already on the earth when the sons of God came into the daughters of men.
Yep, I see that.
They're not the product of
Right.
that.
So how can you? I mean, again, that's saying that the fallen angels are the product of the fallen angels. That's how most people would interpret that.
Yes.
Which doesn't make any sense. I mean, are they the product of the fallen angels, or are they the fallen?
Yes.
Right. So I'm with you on that one. Okay. Yep.
So, I mean, and the interpretation I come up with that does have, all these interpretations have holes in them. They do. And the reason, you want to know the reason why? Because the Bible only mentions them 3 times. It's not a focus. We're not here to state there's this huge systematic theology around the Nephilim.
Right.
For crying out loud.
The Bible does not make a big deal out of
All
this.
of them are going to have holes in them. I just thought of one as I was reading that. Okay? So, I mean.
So just put this on the list of things you're going to talk to God about when you meet him. Hey, what's up with Bigfoot? What's up with aliens? What's up with the Nephilim and the,
Loch Ness Monster.
Right.
I'm
just add it to the list. We can get over it later, right?
So.
An airplane food. What's up with that? Okay. All right.
So the Nephilim were on the earth. But so the thing that is a little ambiguous in the text is it the Nephilim who were the mighty men, men of renown, or is it the children that the sons of God had with the daughters of men? They were the mighty men, the men of renown.
That's kind of the crux
That's
of
the question.
Yeah.
I tend to think, based upon the text and what we're talking about, that it's the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. Those are the mighty men and the men of renown.
So we are talking about angel-human hybrids.
I'm talking about angels and humans
producing children, right?
Yes,
okay.
But not this way.
Not in the way that
not
we would
in the way
think.
people are thinking
okay.
about. And I'm just saying this is a possible. Please, this.
Oh
this
man.
is a possible
man.
interpretation. So let's actually get into the angel human hybrid.
All right,
and let's discuss this.
That's really why all the cats are here. That's really why. I mean, look, I know you're like, hey, I want to support the podcast. I want to learn. This is why you're here.
Yeah,
this is why you're here. Don't lie. All right,
So I do not believe that we have that they produce angel human hybrids.
Okay,
human angel hybrids. Hebrews 1:14 says this, and this goes back to your reproduction after a kind. Hebrews 1:14 says, "Are they not all ministering spirits sent out to render service for the sake of those who will inherit salvation?" Spirits is the word that's used to describe demons many, many, many times. Mm-hmm. So spirits are used to describe the sons of God, the righteous angels, and they're used to describe the fallen angels. Mm-hmm. They're spirits. Now, this is where it gets weird. I don't believe this, but this is what people believe. They claim these are the assumptions. They claim somehow angels develop the ability to get physical bodies, create DNA, gametes, which are cells responsible for human reproduction that are compatible to humanities or to humans.
And I guess I could also get that from Hebrews, where it's like, sometimes by entertaining strangers, you're actually entertaining angels, insinuating that it looks like a human being, walks and talks like a human being, but it's actually an angel. So they take that a little bit step further and say, well, since they can assume human form, what's to say that they can't do human things, right?
That's the next step.
Okay.
That's the next step.
All right.
So yeah, they claim, I mean, and see, you're tracking right along with the
Sure.
logic.
Right. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. So they claim that because angels can take on human forms, like when the angel of the Lord and his 2 buddies came to see Abram.
They had some food.
Yeah, they had some food. They ate, right?
Hung out under the shade, right?
That
escaped the heat.
Yeah, they say that because they did that, this means that angels must possess all the other aspects of humanity as well. That's a huge assumption.
I mean...
Huge.
I mean, let's again assume they're separate species, right? I mean, that's like saying, well, humans can walk, dogs can walk. Therefore, there can be human and canine hybrids, I mean, is that...
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Right.
So it ignores 2 important points. First, the biblical examples involve obedient angels acting on God's mission, right? Not rebellious angels acting independently. Mm-hmm. Secondly, it assumes angels, and this is really important. This is a huge assumption. Second, it assumes angels have the power to take on fully functional human bodies in and of themselves rather than appearing in human form by the power of God for a specific circumstance.
Okay, so this is giving angels the idea that they have the ability to do this at their own will rather than God's will.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Appearance, and this is just exactly what you just said, appearance does not equal capacity.
Sure.
This would require that angels have the power of creation from nothing because they would have to create physical bodies from nothing, DNA, angelic DNA that's compatible with human DNA from nothing. And they would have the power of creation over this because they're spiritual, and they would have to transform into the flesh.
Yeah.
In the Bible, here's also a huge point. Angels never created anything in the Bible.
They don't have the power of creation.
You can't find one example of an angel creating anything outside maybe the angel of the Lord, who was Jesus, because he responded to the name Yahweh or Jehovah.
Right.
But let's go to Colossians chapter 1.
And while we're turning there, one thought is that, well, people could say, well, wait a minute, don't humans create things? It's like, well, yeah, we do, but we always have the material ahead of time.
We do.
So the question is, it's like we're only creating things that God has provided material-wise. The question is, where would these angels get the material to create these human bodies from?
Yep.
Okay. Colossians chapter 1.
Yep. Colossians chapter 1, verse 16.
16, it says, for by him all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things were created through him and for him.
All things,
Yeah.
whether visible or invisible, were created by Christ. No one else has ever created anything.
So that would assume that also by this idea that, so to build on this, that means God would have to create for these angels bodies in which these angels would go to use to procreate with humans.
Yeah, but they would never state that. And they would state that these angels just did it themselves.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Now, one more passage completely destroys this. John chapter 1, verse 3.
Okay. The Gospel of John.
Yep, Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 3. This one, I think, puts the nail in the coffin of this whole craziness.
All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made.
Yeah, so mine says all things came into being through him, and apart from him, nothing came into being that has come into being. A brand new type of creation that could create this weird hybrid system would be something that would have been created, and God says nothing came into being apart from what Jesus did. So angels do not ever have the capacity for creation. They don't.
I mean, but could someone make the argument, though, that God made them these bodies, which we can make that argument, right? Because we do see angels appearing in human form. God gave them these, and then angels and their rebellion, it's like, hey, while we're in these bodies, you want to try to...
I suppose they could, but then again, that assumes that there's DNA, that there's gametes, that there's all of the necessary things that are necessary to breed with someone of a different kind.
So we'd still have to make the assumption that they were given that ability, even though they have the appearance of human, that they were fully human. And in Scripture, the only kind of reference that we ever have a spiritual being being made fully human is Jesus.
And that's the next point, which is the incarnation. But one more small thing. The Scripture clearly states that all angels are spirits, fallen and righteous. And so it appears that when they do appear in those forms, and it's very, very rare. I think Genesis is the only place where they appear to Abram, the two other angels, where they, eat. But again, besides the angel of the Lord does that. But then again, that's Christ in the Old Testament. That's a unique thing. It happened one time, and you're assuming that connection goes all the way through.
Right. So, I mean, again, what we're saying here is that, okay, well, just because God made them the appearance of being human, that does not mean that they are human.
Right.
They're still described as spirits always, which means they are completely separate from humans. And if we go back to the biblical precedents, the only thing that can make according to its kind is if they are of the same kind.
Yep.
So since angels and humans are two different kinds, even if angels have the appearance of human, they're still not the same kind, and thus cannot produce.
Cannot produce.
I track that.
Yep. And so the incarnation plays a role here, right? Because it took the power of the Most High overshadowing Mary to create an offspring between a spirit and a human.
To be fully human.
To be fully human.
Okay, so now we're saying, look at the lengths that God had to go to.
Yes.
So we would also have to assume that God would go to the exact same lengths for these angels that he did for Christ to make them fully human.
Or that the angels had the power to do what only God can do.
Yeah.
See
now
the assumptions?
It's really starting to fall apart.
Oh, it stretches so
bad. It's really starting to fall apart now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm starting to see that big time now. Okay.
Now, here's the next thing.
Because to make these assumptions, you have to assume some things about God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to assume some things about God. So it's like, would this be in God's character to do this just so these angels
No,
could go and do that?
Of course not.
No,
Of course not.
yeah.
Of course not.
Okay. So it's funny how we're talking about character when the Nephilim. So when you start looking at God's character,
Yeah.
is this something that he would allow or he would put in place to make happen?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
it doesn't hold up there, especially when you compare it to what he had to do to make Christ, right? Okay.
So then we have this other concept, right? Which is an extension that the reason God sent the flood was to destroy the Nephilim because there were these angel human hybrids.
Right.
Now the problem is the text doesn't state that. It says that it was every thought from man was evil continually from his youth on.
Not sons of God,
Yeah,
but man.
humanity. So it states that it was humanity, and then it also says that they appeared later on at the time of Moses. So did they get put into eternal bonds and then somehow sneak out and go hook up with some more human?
Yeah. So
human chicks
if God sent the flood to destroy those guys, why are we seeing them after the flood?
Yeah.
I mean, was God just not thorough enough with the flood?
Yeah. So the explanation is more angels were like, yeah, they really are hot.
Hey, check
bro.
out those those daughters of
Yeah.
Noah.
It's like, dude, they really are hot.
It's like,
so
you guys are doing this again?
yeah.
But God, of course, but hey, God promised he's not going to destroy the world with the flood again. So I think we can get away with it this time.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
More assumptions. Okay.
Where do they get this from? They get this from the Book of Enoch.
Okay.
Okay. Now I have this huge passage. Due to time, I'm not going to read it.
Okay.
But it's First Enoch chapter 9.
Yeah, we're cutting
verse
up too
1.
much. I'm sorry.
What's that?
I said I know we're cutting up too much here, but
Oh,
yeah.
no, it's okay. But
Okay.
I mean, basically, what the point behind this is that tell you what, I'm going to hold off on that because we're going to get into some of the craziness of the Book of Enoch here in a second.
Okay. All right.
So
All right.
let's finish this up because we're almost done with this whole concept.
Sure.
So, now we have to go to why I think that the sons of God might be, or why they're angels, and how they went in and had offspring.
Okay.
If they didn't take on physical bodies,
Sure.
How did this happen?
So now we're getting down to some nitty gritty stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, so let's hypothetically say they did. How did they? Is that?
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the Book of Enoch states in the Dead Sea Scrolls, this version, the oldest version that we have of the Book of Enoch, states that the Nephilim were 4,500 feet tall.
And they looked at the sons of man and said, "Yeah, I want to."
Well, no, the sons of God wouldn't have been that big, but the offspring they produced
Oh, I'm saying
were 4,500 feet tall.
Okay. So I guess people leave that part out of the Book of Enoch,
How is a human woman giving birth to a baby that's even, remotely anywhere near that size?
Well, they don't start off that big, and that's also why we have C-sections, Matt. So that's what they did. It's some really massive, crazy C-section.
All I think about is like the Alien movie,
where he kind of pops out of it. Yeah,
it's like kills him when it happens. Oh, let's go to 2 Peter chapter.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, where are we going here?
Chapter 2. Sorry.
Where are we going here? Okay. 2 Peter 2. All right, I'm there.
Mm-hmm. And why don't you read verses 4 through 10.
Okay. For if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until the judgment, if he did not spare the ancient world but preserved Noah, a herald of righteousness, with 7 others when he brought a flood upon the world of the ungodly, if by turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah to ashes he condemned them to extinction, making them an example of what is going to happen to the ungodly, and if he rescued righteous Lot, greatly distressed by the sensual conduct of the wicked, for as that righteous man lived among them day after day, he was tormenting his righteous soul over their lawless deeds that he saw and heard. Then the Lord knows how to rescue the godly from the trials, and to keep the unrighteous under punishment until the day of judgment, and especially those who indulge in the lust of defiling passion and despise authority. Bold and willful, they do not tremble as they blaspheme the glorious ones, whereas angels, though greater in might and power, do not pronounce a blasphemous judgment against them before the Lord.
That's good.
Okay.
Good. Yep. So notice the connection here back in verse 4. God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell. That's Tartarus.
Mm-hmm.
And committed them to pits of darkness reserved for judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to go to Jude here in a second, but he doesn't state why. What sin they did.
Right, done. Correct.
But then he immediately goes to Noah, and then he immediately goes to Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, this is the same concept, that we find in Jude. Let's go there. But Jude actually spells it out a little bit differently. And why don't you read verses 6 and 7, please?
Of what chapter? All right. And the angels who did not stay within their own position of authority, but left their proper dwelling, he has kept in eternal chains under gloomy darkness until the judgment of the great day, just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding cities, which likewise indulged in sexual immorality and pursued unnatural desire, serve as an example as undergoing a punishment of eternal fire.
Now, the struggle I always had with this, with the Sethite position, is it says in the New American Standard, it says in the same way as these indulged in gross immorality. So there, it seems that he's making the connection that there were angels that indulged in gross immorality.
That we saw in Sodom and Gomorrah.
And yeah, the same type. In other words, they went after strange flesh that they should not have gone after.
Right.
Okay. So to me, this has weight. It's like, okay, how do we connect this stuff? How do we bring this in?
How do we compare the angels doing this versus Sodom and Gomorrah?
Yes,
Yeah.
and he says that these have been kept in chains, right? In bonds under darkness for the judgment of the great day. But there are demons and fallen spirits that are roaming free, that are not in chains in pits of darkness.
And we read about that in the gospel where they're,
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
And then follow me here. Legion says this. Are you coming to send us to the abyss before the time? Or they asked him, are we coming to torment us before the time? Don't send us into the abyss, send us into the pigs. Mm-hmm. Now, I know he's using the word abyss, and, Peter uses Tartarus. But that's still, the concept of Tartarus is this deep dungeon. Mm-hmm. That's a pit of blackness, right? That's the concept that he's trying to get across. So,
i.e. a place you don't want to be at.
Exactly. Right. So here's my point. There are some demons who, and this is how the concept goes. I just have a different application. There are some demons who are free that didn't do what those specific angels did, because those specific angels are kept in chains and in bonds in darkness until the day of judgment.
So why are those
being left out?
Why are those angels for doing bad chained, whereas demons who do bad are not?
Yes.
That's the question.
That's the question. In other words, it seems like there's a subset.
And the comparison we have of Sodom and Gomorrah is
strange flesh, bro.
Yeah, okay.
Same way as these.
Okay.
Same way as these.
Oh man, I'm getting kind of scared here.
So
I'm a little worried.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Right. So
especially when we're talking about legion and possession, and where are we going?
So here we go. We have the sons of God. Let's sum up. Sum up. We have the sons of God forcibly taking wives from humans and having children. But there is no evidence, and it is quite absurd to suggest that they could procreate with human DNA, physical bodies, all that stuff. But we have a passage in the New Testament that suggests that certain angels went after strange flesh. Mm-hmm. How is this reconciled? Okay? Demon possession.
So in this case, would it actually be angel possession?
Yeah, it would be the sons of God in their act of rebellion possessing men and going and having human offspring with them. But while being possessed, they could teach them and corrupt them with all of their fallen angelic wickedness. Because what do we see? Especially like with Legion. He was not in his own mind.
No.
He was completely and utterly possessed and controlled by the demons. So we already have a mechanism clearly stated in the New Testament by which angels can control humanity and make them do what they want to do. Mm-hmm. Right? So since we already have that concept laid out, why isn't that the mechanism? If this is the case, this is a big if the concept is, yes, the sons of God are angels, yes, they did go into the daughters of men and have offspring, and yes, they did go after strange flesh, just like they did in Sodom and Gomorrah, and they were kept in pits of darkness afterwards, after they did this, the only mechanism in Scripture that makes any sense is demon possession.
So being the same type of spiritual being as demons and angels, that would put forth the assumption that just as demons can possess people, angels can as well.
But they don't.
Right, but that would be that's the assumption there, right?
Yeah. So
you're saying demons are fallen angels. That's also that's what we're connecting there.
Oh,
okay,
absolutely.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's pretty clear in the Scripture.
Sure. Okay.
Satan took his tail, took off a third of the angels. Revelation 12
Right. Yep.
relates that.
Okay.
So Yeah, demons are the fallen angels.
Right.
And that we see them going into people and making them do things that they don't want to do and having complete control until they're cast out.
Right.
And so, hypothesis, not saying this is what happened. I'm saying this reconciles, though.
Right. This takes care of its own kind argument.
It does.
Because they're spiritual and physical.
It does.
Angels, demons, they're spiritual.
Yep.
So how can they have this kind of a hybrid thing? If they took possession of a human, that kind of takes care of the problem of not having the physical means to conceive a physical baby with a physical woman.
Absolutely. And so my thought process is, can you imagine, I want you to think about this, men of renown, the mighty men of old. By the way, that mighty man of old, David was called one of those too. So that mighty man does not necessitate size either.
Right. That's just a descriptive term.
That's a descriptive term of a valiant warrior.
Yep.
So we have these men of renown, these horrible tyrants of old. That could you imagine for a second, a human man possessed by a demon, forcibly taking a woman, having offspring with her, and having a demon raise that child. How wicked and with the lifespan that they had. Yeah. Could you imagine how wicked and how they could pervert the whole world through what it is that they did?
Yeah. Yeah.
It kind of makes sense.
It does. It does.
Makes sense.
It's a lot of people have come up with theories about this.
Yeah.
I think that's probably, Katz, correct me if I'm wrong, that's kind of a new one for a lot of people.
Maybe. It was for me.
It is for me as well.
Yeah.
That's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
That's heavy stuff.
And that's the idea that came to me. And then I researched and I'm like, oh, other people have come up with this as well. But I've never heard it because it's not the sensationalistic one that the hybrid
It's more of a logical explanation, which is kind of a weird thing when you're talking about demons possessing someone and having kids. But I mean, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And this other aspect, one other thing I just wanted to mention off the side here. Mm-hmm. Where did all the giants come from? That's the question, right?
Because we still got to deal with that, right?
We still got to deal with
that. Just because a demon possesses a man and has a baby with a woman, nothing indicate there that they would be a giant.
A giant.
In terms of a physical sense.
But we know that there were giants, so where'd they come from?
Right. So we still got to deal with that.
We still got to deal with that.
Okay.
And I think the place that gives us that answer is the Paluxy Riverbed. So in Glen Rose, Texas, the Paluxy Riverbed, there are human footprints alongside dinosaur footprints. These footprints are huge.
Yeah, I've seen that.
They're like 16 to 19 inches long, which would indicate someone who was anywhere between 9 and 12 feet tall. Mm-hmm. Here's my thought. There are cattails. You go to a pond or a lake and you see a cattail and it's like, 6 feet tall. Mm-hmm. There are cattails in the pre-flood world, fossilized, that are over 20, 30 feet tall. Yeah. Things grew bigger back then because of the state of the atmosphere and the environment.
A lot more oxygen-rich environment. Yep. And
we have a perfect human with perfect DNA, the way God designed it. They already had massive lifespans. My thought process is based upon those fossils at Paluxy, that humanity at that time were just bigger. In other words, giants weren't the exception, they were the rule. Everybody was bigger, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 feet tall. Mm-hmm. And through the flood, some of that DNA still got preserved, because something happened afterwards.
Is that to say that Noah would have been giant?
Absolutely. I think so.
Probably make it easier for him to build the ark.
Probably would.
Yeah. And that means his family would have also been giants.
And that means the ark would have been bigger because it was based on a cubit, and his cubit would have been bigger than somebody else's cubit because a cubit is elbow to the fingertip. So the ark probably would have been bigger than what we consider it today.
So then we've got the different environment coming post-flood, which would, since it's not as oxygen as rich, it would have not produced people as large, but the DNA is still there. So you might still see some remnants of that.
That's exactly right. And that explains
it all. It
makes sense.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I know if you've got people who are evolutionists or naturalist based, and they're gonna look at this and be like, man, or think Genesis 1 through 11's mythology, like, man, y'all dumb.
We've gotten past that. That's why we're having this is episode 21, not episode 1, right?
Exactly. So, bottom line, I don't know any of this with 100% certainty.
Okay.
Do you know why?
Because the Bible doesn't give us a lot.
Because the Nephilim are not a focus of the Bible.
Right,
It's used
exactly.
3 times.
Yeah. But fascinating stuff,
It
there,
is.
man. Absolutely fascinating stuff. And I actually kind of like this a little bit better than the sensationalist view that we normally see out
It's kind
there.
of cool. I like it.
It is. It is.
But and I don't know if someone were to ask me what do I believe, I would present the Sethite view and this view and say, you know what, whichever one you think makes sense.
Sure. Sure.
But now we need to get the Book of Enoch because the Book of Enoch is where all this other stuff comes from. If you ever watch the reels or ever see people, they're like, okay, sons of God went into the daughters of men and they had children. Sons of God are angels and women are humans and they had these hybrids. Now let's go to the Book of Enoch and see all this stuff that happened because it explains it for us.
Right.
All right. Internal claims of authorship. Book of Enoch claims to be written by Enoch, 7th generation from Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, way before Noah even. Now, the strongest claim of authorship being from Enoch comes from the book of Jude.
Okay.
Okay?
Right.
Because Jude quotes Enoch.
He does quote. I mean, sure. Now, again, I think we mentioned in this previous episodes, it's not unheard of for a writer in the New Testament to quote something that is not divinely inspired.
Yes.
I mean, like in Acts chapter 17, when Paul is addressing the Stoic and Epicurean philosophers at the Areopagus, he says, even your own writers say this. Yes. And he quotes, that poem, what is it, Anathema or whatever it is. So, I mean, people do that.
Yep.
That's not putting his stamp on it as saying divinely inspired. He's saying this thing says this and it applies here.
Yeah. And there's so many different things that we can look at with this. It's like, okay, let's assume Jude does quote the book of Enoch. The only thing that we can assume is that part of the book of Enoch is legit.
Sure.
And it doesn't mean that the rest of the book of Enoch is legit. But I also have a different view on that. And I think we talked about this when we were going through Jude. Look, the one thing that we know that Enoch said is what Jude quotes. So if that phrase or that statement made it through the history, and the book of Enoch quotes it as well, both Jude and the book of Enoch are quoting Enoch, and Jude isn't necessarily by definition quoting the book of Enoch if that is something Enoch really said. Does that make sense?
It does.
So it'd be like you and I both writing a book on the Beatitudes.
Mm-hmm.
And we both quote Jesus saying, blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. And someone looks at our books and says, oh no, Matt quoted Jeremiah.
We're both quoting the same thing.
We both quoted Jesus.
Right.
So if that is something that Enoch really said, the book of Enoch and Jude are quoting Enoch.
Sure.
Not necessarily that Jude is quoting the book of Enoch and that it makes it scripture. So my point is and you said it exactly right, just because a quote is being made from something else doesn't mean that the rest of it is true. It means that specific part of it is true.
Well, and Paul says that again in Acts chapter 17. He says, we are God's offspring. He's saying that part is true. He's like, yeah, we are indeed God's offspring. Yeah. If you keep on reading in that poem, it's saying that we are Zeus's offspring.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is like, yeah, we are offspring, but we're not Zeus's offspring.
Right.
So again, that part is true, but the rest isn't true. And never is he saying that it's divinely inspired. He's saying this particular writing is true. Why should it be any different for Jude?
Exactly.
He's saying this one thing, and he's saying, yeah, Enoch says this. Yep. But that's not him putting his stamp of approval saying that the book of Enoch is divinely inspired.
Right. So you have two specific viewpoints right there that completely undermine. In other words, it doesn't follow that the book of Enoch is true.
That's a pretty big jump.
The one thing that I heard is that the book of Enoch is a biblically authorized non-biblical text, which is nonsense.
Yeah, okay. I'm not really quite. Sure.
We'll get into that. So, guess how much evidence there is that Enoch actually wrote this?
I'm going to go with 0.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It is pseudepigraphal. Pigraphal. I struggle with words sometimes. It's a forgery. It claims to be written by Enoch, but it's not. It obviously includes a quote from Enoch because Jude says it. The evidence actually points to it being a collection of Jewish apocalyptic traditions from the centuries immediately preceding Christ, the Second Temple period, Zerubbabel's temple. Mm-hmm. That's what it actually points to. And I'm going to show it to you here in just a second.
Sure.
Okay. Each of the sections differ in style and show works of independent authors. The content also contains things that date far beyond the days of Enoch. Mm-hmm. Okay, like the animal section in First Enoch 85 through 90 symbolically retells the whole history of the nation of Israel.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
Right.
Sure.
So the same people that would say that the Book of Enoch is trustworthy would also deny the Bible as authentic with much less evidence.
All right. Well, that kills their credibility then,
Yep.
doesn't
Yep.
it? I mean, that's really picky and choosy.
Yep. So the bottom line, there's absolutely zero evidence outside the Jude quote that shows the book contains any authentic material. And you find that quote in the first chapter of the Book of Enoch. So he starts off with that quote
So as
to
far as we
provide
know,
credence.
so that's actually kind of funny. So Jude's reading and he's like, "Hey, that makes pretty good sense." And then he gets to the rest and he's like, "Oh, bogus." Now, what's funny is in Acts chapter 17, when Paul is reading that poem, that's at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
I mean, because when I read that, I said the same thing. I said, you don't have to go very far in that poem that Paul is quoting to see, to find that quote. It's kind of at the beginning. So as far as I'm concerned, he started reading the beginning and said, hold up a second. Now it starts getting a little bit weird. Jude's doing the same thing. He reads the beginning and says, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And then goes to hold up a second.
Or they're both quoting the same quote.
Sure,
right?
sure.
But I mean, yeah. Now, canon reception.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about this.
We did
with
in the previous episode. Yep.
So only the Ethiopian and the Eritrean Orthodox churches view First Enoch as scripture. Nobody else does.
You guys are by yourselves on this one.
Yeah, it's like even everybody else was like, no. Yes, some of the early church writers were like, yeah, a couple of them said, yeah, this is inspired, but a lot of them are like, it has some interesting stuff, but nah, right? And then by the time you get to like the 3rd century, they're like, nope,
absolutely
not at all. This is crazy.
We're doing pretty good spreading God's word without referencing the Book of Enoch. So,
yeah. Okay. So let's talk about some of the most crazy thoughts in the Book of Enoch.
This will help us understand why the Book of Enoch is not considered to be divinely inspired.
So let's start off here. 200 watchers, fallen angels, descend on Mount Hermon and make a pact to go get them, some of them human women.
Yeah, this is kind of where we get from the movie Noah, right? Where they've got the watchers.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, okay, but yeah, it's like it's like first I'm like when I start watching Noah, I'm like, okay, cool, a biblically based movie. They start off with this watcher stuff. Like
do they really?
They start off with it. And I'm like, wow, this did not take long to go to veer off the biblical.
Maybe I should watch it. It's a comedy, right?
One could view it as a comedy. Comedy tragedy.
Comedy
Right?
tragedy. Okay.
Comedic tragedy.
But these 200 angels, they're like, some of them are a little hesitant and they're like, we're going to bind ourselves with the pact. We need some of them human women, man. We need to go after them.
Right.
The angels are named in detail, course after course after course. You notice the Bible, there's only a handful.
I'm thinking Michael, Gabriel,
Abaddon, Apollyon,
right.
On the negative side. Even Satan's name is not necessarily a name.
Right. People get Lucifer from somewhere. Do they get it from?
Yeah, they get it from Isaiah 14, but that's actually referring to the king of Babylon. It says specifically that, is this the man that made the world tremble?
Right.
So Satan is a description. It's not a name.
Right.
Hasatan, the adversary, the accuser. All right. So, and like I said, the Nephilim are 4,500 feet tall. Some other textual variants state that they were 450 feet tall.
Well, there was midgets amongst the Nephilim, and those are the ones that were 450 feet tall.
Midget
right.
Nephilim.
They were called little people. Actually, I'm sorry. They prefer to be called little people. Sorry. Okay.
So
those guys that are 450 feet tall.
Here's the way it works. Those giants eat all the food on the earth and then eat all the people and the animals.
Well, when you run out of food on the earth, you got to eat something.
You got to eat something, especially if you're almost a mile high and tall. I mean,
right.
You're going to eat a lot, dude. I mean,
well, and that's why the pre-flood world was so big.
Yeah, they're
to feed these guys.
So that's where the dinosaurs went, y'all.
Right.
The Nephilim ate them all.
They ate them all.
Okay.
Dinosaur meat is some good eating.
The giants eat all the food and people and animals. Now, this should already start to bring some things into mind. We have some problems.
Right, like Noah's Ark, for example.
Yeah, so,
it's like if they ate all the animals, what's on the ark?
What's on the ark? Azazel, one of the angels, teaches forbidden knowledge.
Ooh.
You want to know what the forbidden knowledge is?
I kind of do.
Yeah, because it's forbidden.
Yeah.
Weapons.
All right.
Metallurgy.
Uh-huh.
However, the Bible says that Tubal-Cain is the one that created that. So again, it contradicts what the Bible says. Then we get into the really horrible secret knowledge stuff. Jewelry, cosmetics, and eye paint.
Oh, gotcha.
So what happened is they're like, okay, these women they got some good bones to them. They're kind of pretty.
Nice complexion.
But we need to teach them how to put some makeup on and to paint their eyes, and then they're really going to be fine.
Well, see, that proves that this is true because these women today are still practicing this forbidden knowledge.
You horrible women.
Also, there must be a difference between eye paint and cosmetics. Otherwise, why would they list those things separately, Matt? I want to know what this eye paint is.
Yeah. Who knows? So these things are what caused the corruption and the flood. So that's in 1 Enoch 8, 1 through 3 and 10, 7 through 8, if anybody wants to check it out. Ugh. Now,
well, thank you, women or cosmetic creators. You caused the flood. I hope you're happy.
Now, here's the thing. A lot of Gnosticism, when you go back and look at the traditions, and this is where original sin comes from, a lot of the Gnostic mythologies, women are the one that caused all the problems, dude. And that is why Augustine really hated women. And if you read a lot of his writings, women were way more depraved than men. And they bore way more sin than men. So original sin stems from all of these types of Gnostic and proto-Gnostic thoughts. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, the dead humans, these wicked humans that were killed by the giants, cry out to the good angels, and then those good angels intercede before God, and this causes the flood. Right?
Okay.
Now, but hold on. Before the flood, God causes all of the giants to kill each other before the flood. So, check this out, my brother. Here's how it works. The giants eat all the food. They eat all the people. They eat all the animals.
So what's on the ark?
And then
they kill each other.
They kill each other. There should be nobody left.
I'm saying, why are we even here?
Why are we having the flood to begin with?
Or why are we having but if that was even true, then we wouldn't be here having this conversation.
No, but Noah survived.
Okay,
God caused Noah to survive.
Noah still survives. Okay,
but here's the thing. There's nobody left.
Right.
Why the flood then? If all that's left is Noah,
right?
And they say, well, it was to cleanse the earth from the wickedness. It's like,
well, the wickedness is gone, bro.
It's gone.
The wickedness is gone, plus some vegetables and animals.
Yeah.
I mean, it's done. We don't need the flood.
Now, check this out. This is how we know, one of the reasons that we know, but these anachronisms are faulty timelines. This is one of the ways that we know that there's issues. The watchers, the fallen angels, right? Ask Enoch to intercede for them, and Enoch does. That's found in chapter 13, 4 through 7. I want you to go read this sometimes because, curiously, Enoch does this in the land of Dan.
Okay.
Do you see a problem with that?
Well, Dan would be Israel, right? I mean, the northern tribe of Israel.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, how can he do that pre-flood in the land of Dan if the land of Dan is still like, has not been settled by the Israelites?
Yeah. So how does Enoch know that he's in the land of Dan when Dan's not born for a couple thousand years?
Yeah, that's a little bit weird there. That's a little bit weird.
See, this wasn't written by Enoch, bro.
No. We're I mean, maybe it was a different Dan.
Dan. Yeah. Dan the man.
It was a different Dan. That's the only.
It was a different Dan.
There could be more than one Dan.
Dapper Dan.
Right. Where did Jacob get the name Dan? It wasn't. He didn't make it up. There was another guy named Dan.
Yeah.
From the Book of Enoch.
And he had a land right by Mount Hermon,
exactly,
which is coincidentally in the tribal area of Dan.
And that's why he named him Dan. Okay. Jacob was divinely inspired to name his son Dan. Yeah. Okay.
So then the spirits of the dead giants become the demons and evil spirits on earth.
Okay.
Now check us out. Angels so Noah doesn't build the ark. Matter of fact, there is no ark in the Book of Enoch. All of the other pagan flood myths all preserve an ark. The Book of Enoch doesn't have an ark. Angels make a wooden building that survives the flood and protects Noah. No ark. In other words, the flood comes, Noah's inside this wooden building that the angels built, and somehow it gets protected.
And somehow it is waterproof.
Force field or something.
Right.
And then the flood goes away, and then they come out of this building.
Okay.
This is the only flood epic, even in pagan mythology, that does not contain an ark. That right there should let you know that we're dealing with some weird stuff.
Right. If if nothing else that you've already mentioned doesn't, that should.
So
Okay.
the content of the book, and it's just weird, man. So the content of the book plus the evidence presents a case you can't get there.
So this is kind of interesting too, because people, if they're relying on the Book of Enoch to make this conclusion as to who the Nephilim are, but would they also kind of go with any of this other stuff? It's like, well, if you go with that, then don't you have to go with the fact that there was no ark, but there was just some big wooden building that somehow survived the flood that was built by the angels?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be a little bit picky and choosy there, right?
And God sends a flood to destroy the Nephilim that he already had them destroy themselves?
Right. So, I mean, so this is kind of an idea where people we see people do this all the time with the Bible, where they're very picky and choosy as what they want to believe. People who adhere to this idea that the Nephilim were angel-human hybrids, they'd have to do the same thing with the Book of Enoch.
Dude. And if the Bible did clearly contradictory stuff like this, people claim that it does, but that's not the case.
Right.
I mean, obviously there's some manuscript variants and stuff like that, but we're not talking about this is major contradictory things that doesn't flow at all.
Right.
And so, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now,
okay.
as we're wrapping up, but now this is where it gets really weird. Right.
This is where it gets really weird.
But I mean,
this is where it gets really weird.
As far as application goes,
Okay.
right?
All right.
And we've already alluded to it.
Yeah.
People say, Matthew 24, he says that let's turn to Matthew 24.
Sure.
Because let's actually see what it says. But people have a tendency to say, Jesus said that the coming of the Son of Man will be like it was in the days of Noah. And so they're like, see, and they always stop there. It's going to be like it is in the days of Noah. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to have these giants. They're going to come back. They're working on the hybrid clones, man.
That's more assumption, man.
We're gonna have these big giants walking around, and
he says like the days of Noah, not just exactly.
Well, no, let's actually read it.
All right.
So do me a favor.
Yeah.
And read 36 through 40. 36 through 39.
Okay. But concerning that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son, but the Father only. For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day when Noah entered the ark, and they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away, so will be coming of the Son of Man.
Notice he doesn't say, because the big Nephilim giants are running around eating everybody, and it's going to be just like that.
He's just talking about the fact that they're unaware.
Unaware.
That's
it's
all
like
it is.
Life's going on.
Right.
And then the ark door gets shut.
Right.
And they hear thunder in the distance.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That's actually what he's talking about.
Sure. I feel like that's pretty obvious.
Yeah. But, dude, if you want to build followers, see, we're doing it wrong. If you want to build followers.
Yeah, you got to get that sensationalism.
You got to pull stuff out of context.
Yeah.
And you got to make it say stuff that it doesn't say.
Whew.
So, I want to end with this. When it comes to the angelic realm, this is proof as to why God doesn't give us a lot of information.
Because look at what we do with what little bit he gives us.
Because people are obsessed with it, and they go create angelology, demonology, and what's going on in the spirit world. And God's like, I'm going to give you the names of a couple angels. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what they do, but I'm not giving you a whole lot of info about it. And then the Book of Enoch comes along and is like a huge discourse of all the stuff that's going on.
Right.
That lets us know right there that there's something wrong with this. We have enough to dive into in the scriptures. I've been doing this 34 years. I find new stuff all the time that blows me away. And it's designed for a people who want to love God and become close to him, not someone who's interested in all the sensationalistic side things that we can create with our imagination.
Right. I mean, what good does it do us to develop godly character and carry out the mission of the church by speculating as to who the Nephilim and who these angel-human hybrid babies were?
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything.
And it's, besides us doing an episode and making fun of it.
It's an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to speculate a little bit, but okay, that's over. Now it's time to get back to business, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which is what we're going to do. And the next series we're going to do is going to be on the morality of God and discussing things like why does evil exist? Is God moral? You
Sure.
know, things like slavery and
killing kids.
Yeah.
I mean,
all
God
of
would
this-
tell people to go in and wipe out man, woman, child, and animal. And,
Yeah.
how can an all-loving God make that kind of commandment? So,
Yep.
but now that we've kind of laid down the foundation of the Bible, where it came from, why we can have trust and confidence in it, now we can start having some of those conversations.
Yeah.
So, well, appreciate all your research and work done on this. It seems like you had a lot of fun with this.
I had
a
so
lot of
mu-
fun reading it
so
and
much
learning
fun.
about it as well. So remember, we're on YouTube and we're on Spotify. Don't forget to give us a like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share. As we mentioned before, we're going to be taking a little bit of break, a couple months off, but we will be back probably sometime at the beginning of the year, maybe later this year. But until then, remember, curiosity may have killed the cat.
But it does not have to kill you unless you're diving into the Book of Enoch.